Before I start, let's do a quick introduction. So all these recaps and all these teachings, any recaps and teachings I do are mostly from anything I share on Twitter, anything I share on X or YouTube, or anything we discuss in our community. We trade a repeatable system. My repeatable system, Ripster EMA Clouds, is used by thousands of traders across the world to trade consistently and make profits in the market with minimal losses and bigger profits. We trade repeatable setups, be it a day trade, swing trade, or investment. We have very repeatable setups that I show you. I've been showing you those setups for years, not only on YouTube, on Twitter X. How we trade that, how we do those setups. That's what we recap and try to learn different kind of those setups. Every morning, me and my team, we create a game plan for the day. Today's game plan, usually we have news, breakout watch, upgrades, downgrades, earnings, but today it was most all about earnings mostly. You can see the top earning plays: APP, Qualcomm, ELF, ARM, Mali, among others. So those were some of our top earning plays we were watching. We were watching Marna, Bros, as well. I'll try to recap few of those, not all, but I'll try to recap the ones that I focused on. So, and we also share what we call as our day 2, day 3 strategy. So our day 2, day 3 strategy today was Coin and MSTR were one of our main day 2 winners there. Even Tesla was a day 2 setup if you talk about it. So we'll talk about that as well. You can see the top setups were day 2 setups there. JPM was a day 2 short as well. Anyways, this is another day-to-day strategy. We provide these levels to our community members. They can use the Ripster EMA Cloud repeatable system to trade consistently with these with these levels provided. In addition to that, we also provide market levels for SPY, QQQ, Apple, Microsoft, AMD, all the market stocks that move with the market, that you can again use these support resistance levels to trade SPY, QQQ, and EMA Clouds. You will see that, for example, AMD, NVDA, Tesla, a lot of these broke the resistance pivots and they were long with the Ripster Clouds today. And of course, we also have our crypto levels, levels for Coin, MSTR, CLSK, Mara. Today Coin MSTR did a midday breakout. We'll recap that as well. I'm usually on a voice in my community in the first few hours of the market open, and if needed, I'm usually on the voice all day. If needed, if this market is really hot, but I'm really active because most of the money we make is in the first few hours, most of our trades. And then we have our midday setups. We play our morning 9:30 setups, 10 a.m. setups, repeatable concepts. So we work with just repeatable concepts. And then of course, we have midday, end of the day setups. We have all the option scanners, stock scanners, news boards, audio alerts, support resistance alerts, everything we have in our community. One-stop shop for everyone to trade consistently and don't need to go anywhere else. That being introduction, let's start.
Hello guys. Let's start with the first one, SPY QQQ trades today. Let's look at SPY QQQ. I'm not going to spend too much time on SPY QQQ because last 3 recaps, I all these concepts I went in detail. Everything I went in detail with you guys. So you have to watch that. I also put out a couple of shorts on YouTube and on X. You can watch that. So let's see what was happening with QQQs and SPYs today, right? So SPY was gapping down, as you see here, right? So SPY is gapping down, and SPY is under the 1-hour cloud, SPY is under the MTF cloud, SPY is under the 10-minute Ripster clouds, right? So we are bearish, but we started to turn bullish right at open. You see this candle. And other thing to note here is we are holding this pre-market lows. We're holding this pre-market lows. So initially, once we were turning bullish, and we also have the levels. If you want to look at the levels on the QQQs, we're 494.50, 496.81. So we had those levels of support that were holding up. So that's when I said, everyone, that QQQs, we did long it. We did long it at the open first, right here. Let's see if I can show you that. So we did long it at 9:30. It pushed, if I spread it out, it pushed from 497 to 498. But then it pulled back into the clouds and we got out. So after that, we didn't really do anything on the QQQs because it was choppy, up, down, up, down. I was out. You see, I was out at 9:51. But as soon as I see it pushing over the EMA clouds, pushing over this consolidation, pushing over the EMA clouds, pushing out of this consolidation, that's when I said it's getting out of the chop, because it was a chop. It was a chop. And that's when I said, longs, trying to get out of the chop. Longs, you can long that. I was on the voice. I told everybody you can long that. The first target was MTF Clouds. First target was MTF Clouds, and that pushed nicely. And then our next target is over the MTF Clouds, and we pushed over the MTF Clouds. Then we got a pullback, right? Something important to note here, that it pulled back, but that was actually a buy. That was a retest. We thought it might fade, but it never faded and it held. And that's why I told everybody that you can roll, you can add back, that it's not a fade and it's going to push. And this is when the MTF breakout happens, right? The 1 hour MTF cloud breakouts. And I told everybody there's no short, there's only long, right? If you have made money in the morning, calls went 100%, you re-add some lot of option trades long here and you let the trade work. So important thing to note here is that today the personality of SPY was gap down reversal. Okay, gap down, gap fill. QQQ, smaller gap, but gap down, gap fill. When do you know it's time to long? When you see this, when you see this, when you see this getting out of the chop. So learn these concepts, getting out of the chop range, and pushing over the clouds. And at the same time, most of the Mag 7 were pushing, right? Google, Apple, a lot of those names were pushing. So you need to watch that. Even though semis were a little weaker, but you need to watch that, what's happening there, right there in the market. And at the same time, VIX was breaking down. So our same strategy of VIX, and that's how I guided everyone all day long. I even said that even when we were here, I did tell everyone that we still have some more room on QQQ. Look here, QQQ still some ATR left. Doesn't mean it's too high. It can still go because there's still ATR left. It hasn't even done its ATR. QQQ exactly did its 100% ATR. SPY crossed its 100% ATR before it pulled back. So ATR is great to use. How to use ATR on your SPY QQQ longs. So that was a good trade today in the community. Everything timestamped, guidance on the voice, and I also guided everything on the Twitter as well. Maybe I can show you guys that quickly. Trying to late video today, so trying to finish it up pretty fast. If you see that even on the SPY QQQ in the morning, I said chop. We'll keep eyes if it gets out of the chop later. And guess what? We got out of the chop. Chop, breakout, chop, breakout. And this is when I said getting out of the chop. So today was a great day to understand the chop to bullish trend. Our target's always MTF clouds. They act as a magnet. We continue to push. This is where I'm showing you the chop consolidation long, and beautiful, beautiful move. And that was a big, big winner for us in the community. SPY QQQ long all day. Let's next look at MSTR. MSTR was one of our great trades today. Why was it? Let's see what was going on MSTR. If we look at our game plan on MSTR was, let's see here, the game plan on MSTR was 400 psychological breakout watch, cautious under 384, 380 support, 400. There was a news they were converting the $1 billion in bonds. Of course, they're going to buy Bitcoin with it. We all know that. So when I saw this, let's see if I can show you here. MSTR. Let's see if I can show you. Maybe I can show you guys this way, right? So you see this. This is easier. So initially it was bearish under this cloud, but as soon as it held the 34 Ripster clouds, it told me it's long. I said it clouds turned bullish. Put your stops at 385, 400 psychological also breakout, and then we got the breakout, and that was a breakout long. You could trade 450 calls, 500 calls. That's one of our discussing in the community. The first target I gave was 410. 410 target met, and some people panicked on this pullback. That was just a retest, and it pushed, tried to break the clouds, but never broke it. Remember, whenever there's a reclaim of 512, it's even more bullish. And then I gave the 420 breakout, and it's very simple trade, guys. Nothing crazy about it. 420 breakout, and then it pushed higher. The 500 lotos went to $9 from $3. If you had like $300, they became $1,800. If you had $1,000, they become $3,000. And even the 4 550 loaders went nicely. I told everybody to leave some runners there, but that was all day guidance. And what was special about MSTR was MSTR again was we need to know the range, right? MSTR has huge ATR. It's nothing too high. It's breaking its all-time highs. It's breaking 400 psychological level. All you need is a risk level. When we started, 385 was our risk. Then 512 becomes our risk. 400 becomes our risk. Then the 512s become a risk. You have to take some profits and keep rolling. If you have 3 contracts, 4 contracts, sell 2, sell 1, keep 1. And if you even that 1 is going to make you so much money. So that MSTR today was a trade for us for four, almost like, if depending where you added, that was a $50 per share profit. And my final target was 450, as I showed you there. That MSTR is over 50 target as well. So you see that pre-market planning, nothing happens without pre-market planning. Pre-market planning, live guidance, and using the system. And most of my traders in my community and those who learn from me, they are already executing it pretty well themselves, right? I don't, because we do it every day. And this was a setup, was a gap and go. And the moment it held 3450, that told you that it's a long. And all day, all you had to do was hold it. I even guided MSTR on Twitter as well. I showed step by step everyone what MSTR was doing. I alerted the MSTR 400 psych breakout today in the morning. That's this, that was the long, so that was the long on that breakout. And then I guided everyone even on there, step by step. Beautiful. Bitcoin was breaking out of the flag I shared. So beautiful win. Huge day for us on MSTR. Let's go to the next one. All right, next we're going to look at Tesla. So let's see what Tesla was doing. So Tesla this morning for us was, look here. It's bouncing from MTF Cloud once, twice, thrice. So 3 times it bounces from MTF Cloud. That tells me that's the risk we can use. But the real long came when we pushed over this 3450 clouds. Look at the levels on Tesla that I gave in the pre-market: 339, 341, 31. So those were 2 levels of our breakout right here and that. You can always enter when it pushes here, right? And you're not supposed to get out. A lot of people panic because Tesla one candle is like $3 $4 $5. You can't just panic. Your stops need to be wide. Your position need to be small. Otherwise, you will miss the trade. So, anyways, when once we had a 10 a.m. breakout, that's when I said breakout long. I gave initial long idea, but I was not long at that level. 333 is the risk I gave everyone. If you are trying to long right here, 333 is your risk. You're risking $2 to $3, but you're making $10 to $12. One is one risk to 5 or 6 rewards. That's pretty good risk reward there. So that's what I teach everyone. And after that, I was just giving the targets. 344 was the first target, 348 was my second target. We didn't really get close to 348, and it kept consolidating, flagged once, flagged twice, failed the flag, and then you get out here. Anybody who's swinging, he has to use the 1 hour clouds for the swing risk. Tesla was a beautiful trade in the community. It was not like a crazy runner, but it still gave us nice $6 7 per share profit. So which was really good for every one of us in the community. And then because MSTR and other names are going, this was still a decent trade. All right, next one we're going to look at is NVDA. So let's see what NVDA was doing. So NVDA, tomorrow it's earnings. So the long on NVIDIA today was the 1 hour MTF clouds, right? So it's bearish. You see that this is where it turns bullish. And look at the levels on NVIDIA I gave this morning. NVIDIA also had an upgrade, but our levels are 140, 140 to 59. It was under the MTF clouds. As soon as it pushes over 3450 clouds, that's your initial long. You see, this is the amateur move. Pulls. This is where you can add because you have defined risk right here, and then you trade it all day, right? So I told everyone it turned bullish over MTF clouds, and then it was at a 71% ATR. I told everyone it still has room. Then Nvidia went on to do 130% ATR. So you must use ATR on when you are trading and for your intraday targets, and how to use ATR. This is how I use. if it's a big breakout, big volume, I know it can easily do 100% ATR, right? So that was the trade. So MTF Cloud bounce again. Do not forget support and resistance. Support and resistance is the most important. Clouds come later. MTF Clouds acts as support and resistance, but the 512s and 3450s also act very nicely on as well on that push. So that was a good trade in NVIDIA. Let's go to the next one. So let's look at lows today. The the home furnishing department store, not furnishing the Home Depot and Lowe's. So Lowe's was a fader all day. It was on our game plan. Let's look here. It was neutral to bearish under MTF. Watch the 512s. It kind of gave a short at the open, but they didn't pulled 512s, and then it faded. It pushed, then it faded. It was not a perfect, because it's hard to get good entry when it's making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows there. But you could short at this area at 512s. Even then, it was not giving you like a crazy flush. So you have to get out when it happened at this 512 you know bounce. So yeah. So only thing I have to note is when lows is the first amateur candle is not showing you lower highs, lower lows, you do not short at the bottom, because then you're gonna get squeezed right into 512. So you have to wait for that 512s. All right, let's look at another one was VRT. That was one in the community as well. Um, so I'll just recap the VRT in the screenshot here, and I'll talk about what was going on with VRT here. Uh, VRT was big winner. We were focused on MSTR, but VRT was another one which was huge, because few things, right? It had a pre-market plan. You see that there's a support, there's a resistance, held MTF, pushed over the pre-market highs. Look at this level I gave here, pushed over that, and not only that, it was an all-time high breakout, and it was an upgrade by JP Morgan. So it becomes an A plus setup, and it continued to push all day. There was no reason. I mentioned the long on the voice in the morning. There was no reason to cut, just to hold, 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 hold. If you are FOMOing, if you are FOMO, you miss this ads, you're scared to add here, just add 1/4, 1/5 size. Nobody's, because even if you added 1/4 size and held it all day, it paid you really, really well. There was no short here. Only the amateurs short these moves. They think it's too high, too high, too high, but it was never too high. I actually was giving the targets of 138 and on VRT, and I even talked about 140 on VRT, and then it kind of met all the targets on VRT. Crazy name. It's data center uh, stock, and you can see it's still gapping after hours. So it was a good move. That's why we have everything planned. So understand why it was an A plus. It was a tier one upgrade. It was over the MTF clouds. It was all time high. When JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs say something, you always listen. Those are usually the good movers. So you need to understand that why it was an A plus setup. All right. So let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to look at is AI. So it's been a while. AI did a big move, but we had a news on AI today, and it's actually might be ready for further moves. The way it's trying to get out of this consolidation, and a lot of these small names are moving. So AI, the plan was neutral. So I had frankly neutral bias on AI, but later I read the news in detail. It was actually pretty bullish for AI. So, anyways, right at the open, as soon as I see it pushing over this area, over the pre-market highs, I said it's a game plan long. The first target I gave was 31. Then next target I gave was 32. It actually met 32, and then it did a midday 512 curls, and it continued to push. You see, you need to master these flag patterns, guys. That's what you need to learn. And you see, you can add anytime as pullbacks to 512. You add there. You do not cut, right? And this was like a 10 a.m. flag breakout setup that I continuously talk about. You cut when it breaks 512. So AI was a great trade, and look at when I gave some levels like 26, so 26, 60, and 27. Once those levels hold, then you know that you can risk those levels. If you're trading this breakout right here, then your stops are right here. This previous resistance becomes new support, or use the previous 10-minute candles as your risk. Because if you're trading here 29, if you're trading $30, you have to use $1 risk. Or if you're adding $30, you have to use this 29.69 low of the 10-minute candle as your risk. And it was a beautiful trade. A lot of the community traders traded it. Let's look at Netflix. Netflix was all by the community. Our community was all over Netflix today. Not my personal trade, but I'm very proud of everyone in the community who was calling it out. Honit, Mtrade, Raga, Drew. I mean, this is the power of dedication, execution. How everybody is so focused on the setups. I was not even talking about it, but our community traders are just so smart. Everybody is so focused on the trade that they want to do. ABCD also was on top of it, and the reason being, Netflix was an all-time high breakout, right? So it was an all-time high breakout, and sometimes the news, like we heard the Tyson fight. Sometimes you see the effects after a day or two, and that's definitely was bullish. And you have to understand that QQQ was also bullish, right? There's a big engulfing green candle, and today was definitely, again, once it moved over yesterday's highs right here, it's a long, right? The traders were asking me in the morning on the voice. That's what I said. That was your breakout pre-market highs, yesterday highs. This is where it turned bullish. Don't be scared. Just take a position. Keep eyes on the flow. And very proud of everybody in community who nailed it. Mason was talking about its flagging. Amtrade, Mikshu, everyone was on top of it. I'm so proud of traders in community. Let's go to the next one. All right, we're gonna quickly talk about SMCI, see what SMCI was doing. So SMCI was a little different today, right? So I'm gonna talk about a few things because a few traders were getting chopped on this. So first of all, right, let's go back to news. So our levels were 25, 50, and 28. These were our two levels, right? So this was a level 25, 50 that I gave in the pre-market, and you see it's bouncing right from there, right? Amateur candle. So that's your ultimate risk. If you like SMCI, you don't want to use the clouds. Even if you use the clouds, that's your ultimate risk. So what my plan on SMCI was that I wanted to long it over 27, right? I didn't want to long it under 27. So it pushed over 27. Over clouds, do not short it. It was bearish on the amateur move, but it got a bullish on the trend move, right? So it pushed over 27. That's when I said long over 27, right at this candle, and it pushed like 27, 28, 50. Then it pulled back. Now, so now what happens is when it pulls back under 27, it's testing these levels. So you just have to be careful that if it doesn't gain 27, you get out, and you can get out, no problem. But if it reclaims 27, you have to get back in. And you can't have a huge size that you panic, because SMCI could very well pull back to $26 and then push back over to. So this was kind of a little choppy action right here. And it will happen many times that you think it's going bearish, but you can't just panic and get a huge loss on these moves, because SMCI was definitely very choppy today. It was not an easy trade. You see how the candles were. You see these candles. So it's not a clean trend, right? It's very up down up down. It's a very choppy trade, right? So that's why I personally didn't trade it when it pulled under, and because I don't want to trade this chop. Yeah, it pulled from 27, 29. You could make another couple bucks, but when initially it's chopping me out, I try to step away. But a lot of traders were trading it versus 27. You got $2, but end of the day it was all chop. You probably lost money on your options because of all this choppy action. I want a clean trend, right? MSTR is a clean trend. Tesla, when turned bullish, was a clean trend. So you understand that, and that's how you trade it, these setups, right? So just wanted to recap SMCI today. Let's go to the next one. All right, next one I want to recap Google. So Google was a special play today. Let's see why. So if you see that in the game plan, Google had a bearish news. DOJ said they don't want, they want to take it out, the chrome out of it. So it was bearish under the MTF. So that was my bearish bias. These were my two levels. But when I saw Google pushing over the 3450 and MTF, I was very strict about telling everyone that Google is not a short anymore. It's a long. You can see that it's a long. And even if in the 10 a.m. push, it gave us 177. So that was a 9:30 to 10 a.m. trade long. Now it pulled back again, and look where it's bouncing. This is where you get entry. This is not where you get entry on this red candle because you are risking too much. You have to have entry close. You have to wait for that entry. And when SPY is pushing, when QQQ is breaking out, you trade Google long because you have defined risk there. Put your stops under the MTF clouds or low of these candles and take it long. And Google was not a short, and Google ran all day from our game plan. Beautiful trade. So proud of the community who traded this, right? So my main point was just we can't get bearish. We need to know when to turn from bearish to bullish. So that's very important, how to manage your setups, right? So that was Google. So I just wanted to highlight the main plays we had in community. So let's see. See, so Walmart was another one. That I was not particularly interested in Walmart. Big float, moves very slowly. I was interested if it broke out of that pre-market highs. So I really didn't trade it. Traders in the community were trading it. It did give you a good bounce of 3450 and pushed higher. As long as you stay closer to the clouds, you would be fine. But important thing to understand today, guys, is market was a trend day bullish. So Mag 7 stocks were where you're supposed to be. Only NVIDIA was strong, and other names, semis, but other semis were weak as well. Anyways, just wanted to keep it short, highlight our main trades today. Great day in the community. I'll see you tomorrow.